Hello, welcome everybody to Sacred Somatic and Intuitive Healing. We're the Self Healers, so welcome to the Self Healers community. I'm so excited that you're here. And we're going to just jump right in. We're going to jump right into our work together today. And I want to preface before we jump into the healing portion of our time together, I want to set the intentions for this year going forward. And as part of this group, what I want to offer is an opportunity for us to come together, right, as a community of somatic healers, and come together in co-regulation for the purpose of opening up the wisdom of our bodies. Right? So we'll talk this year about blockages, the things that are in the way of us really listening to our bodies, right? Because there's profound healing potential within each and every one of us. And when we can open up that relationship to ourselves, that healing potential expands. And so we'll talk about different ways that we can get in our own way. We'll also talk about how we can use nervous system and somatic principles to help us move out of the stress, fight, flight, or freeze response and out of our survival patterns and start to evolve. And so we can better come into relationship with our bodies, our sensations, and live from that place, right? So there's 3 questions that we're going to focus on in Somatic Self Healers this year, right? And so the questions we're kind of orient around as we come together are related to how do we build capacity for stress? How can we feel more present in our bodies so we can access our hearts and our inner guidance? What is it like to sense safety from within so we can live from alignment instead of survival and reaction? So these are the questions we're going to orient our time together. And so there's a little bit of education that we'll start with in each session, each Somatic Self Healers session. And then we'll go directly into the healing portion. And we'll use the tuning forks as a way to listen to the frequency of your body through the amplification of it in the field. So if that sounds a little bit like, oh, curious to you, great. And if you're like, I don't know what any of that means, you don't have to. Because the sound of the fork in and of itself is going to bring a coherence into any areas within your body and within your field that might be out of harmony or out of sync. So we'll go into that. Stick with me here. We'll go into that a little bit more today as we get into the healing portion of our time together. But for now, I want to talk about practice, right? I want to talk about practice, and how we practice is how we live, and how we live is how we practice, right? So practice is foundational to nervous system work, and it's foundational to somatics, and it's foundational to having a relationship with our bodies, right? We have to come into relationship with our bodies through practice. So we'll practice today, absolutely. And every time we come together, it's going to be a practice, because I want you to use Somatic Self Healers and these free videos and audios, right, as your medicine. I want you to use these healing sessions as a practice for you, right? I want you to be able to come to Somatic Self Healers and these videos and find co-regulation, find tools, learn about yourself through practice. And when we start to practice, one of the important things to remember is staying curious, right? So practice opens up our curiosity. Like when we pause and practice, whatever that practice might be, right? Whether it's a yoga class, right? Whether it's these healing sessions, whether it's something on Insight Timer, a teacher that really resonates with you on Insight Timer, right? Whatever the practice, whether it's a daily walk, right? What the practice does is it gives us a chance to open up to what is present for us in the moment. It could even be your practice could even be a daily active journal, right? What's alive for me now? So we're not journaling about the past or journaling about the future, but journaling about like, what's alive for me right now? What's happening for me right now in my body, in my experience of me now, right? So number one thing about practice is staying curious when we start to practice. It's less about getting it checked off the to-do list and more about quality and intention of our practice. So at first, it doesn't matter how long, right? Doesn't matter when you do it. The most important thing in the beginning is creating that consistency with practice and being open to what's ever alive for you in the moment. So we're going to keep working with that today as well, right? And the other interesting thing about practice that I want to mention here is there's been a lot of talk in circles and sacred communities around release and letting go. And yes, I speak about release and letting go as a practice, as a discharge practice. And there's a difference between practicing towards something and practicing away from something. Yeah. So that's also something to keep in mind as we start to bring in more quality and intention and curiosity into how we're practicing, right? Yeah. Are we practicing towards embodiment and towards what we're experiencing in the present? Or are we practicing with the intention to get out of something? Get out of how we are feeling, get out of the anxiety, get out of the stress, get out of the looping thoughts and the mind going 1,000 miles a minute, right? Or are we practicing towards how can I be with, and how can my practice allow me to be in more acceptance of what is? The only way out is through, right? Yeah, okay. Beautiful. So we'll transition now into our healing practice, right? So I invite you to take a few moments, get yourself kind of settled in, right? You might be in your car, you might have a few moments while you're waiting for a kiddo. You might be at the end of your day looking for that co-regulation, looking for the brain waves to start settling from a busy, busy day, moving from that high beta, starting to move to that medium, low beta state. Right? You might be in the morning and looking for, or just happened upon this video and this group, and you're just wanting to start your day off more centered and grounded rather than getting right up and moving to it, moving on with your day, but taking the next maybe 15, 20 minutes or so, right, to start grounding into your body. So this is where release and let go practices can be really helpful, right? Where we can settle whatever might be activated in our body through movement, right? So you might, depending on if you're lying down, sitting, or if you're standing, right? You might begin to just invite some movement. And you might be ending your day and in the high beta and have a lot of activation. Maybe it was a really stressful day. So maybe your body needs a little bit more dynamic shaking, right? Maybe you need some horsey lips with your shaking in your heel rock. So I'm doing some heel rocks. I'm doing some shaking, right? Or maybe you're at the end of the day and you're finding yourself at a little bit more of what I might call a collapsed or shut down or frozen state, right? And in that state, maybe your body's asking for more rocking, gentle rocking. Maybe your body's asking for gentle touch, right? Maybe you're not ready to even move yet. And once again, we're just staying curious, right? No judgments about how you are, no expectations for this practice, right? Maybe you push your hands together and begin to bring some activation in your chest. Ooh, that feels really nice in my chest. I did some chest press exercises yesterday, so my chest I'm feeling is a little sore. So this feels really nice through my chest, my forearms, my triceps and biceps, right? So this is the beginning of the practice of release and discharge, right? Just settling into the body by allowing the fight or flight energy to move through the body, because that fight or flight energy, right, is active and mobile energy, right? Yeah, so that email from the boss, being late for that appointment, the kids being sick, whatever might be kind of on the surface that needs to be moved through from that fight or flight energy. You get to do that now, right? Through breath, movement, sound, right? And so we'll begin to tap into a little bit more of the breath here too, right? So depending on how your body needs to be in this moment, whether you need more of the softening for a moment, maybe you just need to lay and feel the support underneath you. Feel either the ground under your feet, maybe you're laying on the floor with your whole body suspended and supported on the floor. So feel that support, and maybe you notice where there's some bracing or some tension. And the release practice today is around, can I soften those places of bracing just a little bit? So sometimes there can be a judgment if we don't feel like a total relaxation. And no judgment, right? It can be 1%. Or 3% or 10%, and maybe just the noticing of where you're holding the tension is enough. That noticing can be enough for today. And maybe encouraging you to orient to your environment through your senses, looking around your room, noticing a plant or a picture, Or maybe you're in your car and you notice, of course, you're not driving, doing this, by the way. Little side note. But maybe you notice a tree at a park nearby. So just orienting to your space and noticing what's around. And then noticing how that thing might make you feel. Right? Yeah. My favorite oak tree out my window here helps me feel grounded, and it makes me want to bring more energy and awareness to my feet and feel more grounded in my feet. And I want to kind of bend my knees a little, so it's that flexible groundedness that's what this oak tree is making me feel right now when I look out the window. So take a moment, 30 seconds or a minute, to orient to your surroundings through your senses. You might even notice sounds. And maybe you're in a busy place and it doesn't feel, the sounds around you aren't supportive to you. And that's okay. That's a really good thing to note and stay curious about, right? Or maybe you have an overhead light on. It would be nicer if you softened the light, turned off the light, right? Once again, this is all curiosity about how your body wants to be supported in this moment. Right? Yeah. Really good. And then as we start to settle, sometimes we can open a new layer of fight or flight energy, right? And so if you're feeling like, oh, I need to do a little bit more movement, I need to mobilize some of that stress out of my body, feel free, right? So maybe you come back to the wiggles, the shaking, right? Maybe you come back to some sighs out the mouth. Yeah, beautiful. And when you're ready, finding that support underneath you again, maybe at a different, more embodied place where you start to feel the shoulders relaxing down your back even more. You feel where the body is touching the supports, and you feel a spreading or a melting into the supports underneath you. Yeah. Beautiful. And there's no right or wrong way to do these practices. And what I intend to offer in Somatic Self Healers in this community is options. And in these options, you get to find what's right for you, right? And you might be brand new at this and it might feel clunky, and that's okay, right? It's like, can we stay open and curious about what we're experiencing? All right. So we'll transition now into our tuning fork session. You can stay exactly as you are. And I'm just gathering my fork here, and you may hear the tone a little bit sharper as it moves through the microphone. So if you need to turn down your sound, adjust your sound, feel free to do so, right? And we'll start with the 174. And anytime we're working with vibration, anytime we're working with energy through electromagnetic force in our body that creates the magnetism around our body. Anytime we're working with that electricity, we want to ground it. And that's exactly what we're working with here, is electricity of the body. We're using the tuning fork as a way to start to bring some coherence into your body. Bring some harmony, is the word. And anytime we do that, anytime we're working with electricity, we want to ground it. So just taking a moment here to ground your energy with the fork. Yeah. And when I'm working with the fork, it's both a diagnostic tool and an intuitive tool as well. So I can pick up on the energy through frequency. I can pick up on what's happening within your body, both those who are here live and then also those who watch the replay. Anyone who watches this video going forward, I can read the energy through the fork. And so just pausing for a moment, listening. Yeah, and one of the things that come through, that's been coming through, is both in my body and through the vibration, and what I hear in the fork is some anxiety. That's the word that's coming through. Yeah, and that makes sense with what's happening in the collective, what's happening in the world right now. Yeah. And it's really stirring up things within ourselves. Yeah. Things that maybe we buried. Things that we're afraid to look at. Or maybe things that we don't even consciously know that we need to work on or look at, right? And so I want to just right here and now let you all know that the first steps in any shadow work is finding safety. And we find internal safety through our practices, right? And so as we continue with the tuning fork healing, and as we let the tuning fork vibration soothe and regulate and soften our edges, we can also remind ourselves in this moment that this is the work, my friends. Yeah, so still working to ground, which is okay. That might be what we do today, is stay in the energy of groundedness. Yeah, and so you might just notice what's happening in your body, and you might bring your attention down to your feet and begin to breathe in and out through your feet. One of my favorite visualizations for grounding is imagine your feet have a nose and a mouth, and you can breathe in through your feet and out through your feet. That's it. Breathing in through your feet and out through your feet. We can do so much for our families, for our communities, for ourselves when we begin to regulate, when we begin to find that sense of groundedness and safety, that sense of okayness within our bodies, within our minds, within our souls. It's one of the most powerful things we can do right now, and it's really conditioned out of us. It's conditioned out of us to not be doing, right? To not be resting, to not be nourishing. Especially when there's so much chaos. And immorality. And heartbrokenness. And tragedy in our world. It's counterintuitive to not be doing. It really is. And what you're doing now is building your capacity for rest. Nice big deep breaths in through the feet, up to the head, and exhale down the body, out the feet. Yeah, that's it. Just grounding our energy today. And sometimes the forks can bring up and stir some things up. And if that's the case for you, remember, you can come back to orienting to your room, orienting to the space around you. And when you're ready, you can always come back into what you're noticing in your body. Building that muscle of interoception, of deep body listening, which is also a foundational practice. It takes our practices that we do now a little deeper. Maybe you notice what you notice in your body. And once again, if it becomes overwhelming, too much, you open your eyes if they were closed. You orient back to the things around you. Maybe your fuzzy blanket around you because it's chilly. Maybe you have a pet. That's it. That's it. Continuing those deep breaths in through the feet, out through the feet. And we'll just end our time together with the 222 frequency fork. Just allowing this fork, the sound of peace to me, the sound of church bells, the sound of settling. And just allow the sound of this fork for the next minute or two to ground your body even more. That's it. Yeah. And last strike of the fork, and just let this sound penetrate into your cells, this relaxation, calmness, peace, groundedness. Beautiful. Thank you all who have joined live, and for those of you who will watch this replay. And if you're watching the replay and aren't part of the Somatic Self Healers newsletter, I'll leave all that information below so you can stay up to date on our next healing gathering. And we'd love to stay in contact. So feel free to reach out. Okay, my loves, sending you so much love.